I think I am finally live. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. It just seems that every time I come on to this, it's kind of glitchy. So, trying to get to terms with why it's doing that. But here we are anyway. So, let me just see if I can see any comments. That also seems to be a challenge at the moment. But yeah, let's see. Hopefully, they're there. Okay, so here we are on the 26th, and this is quite a big week. And I make myself laugh a little as I always kind of say, oh, this is a big week astrologically. But I mean, what are we not like? What is not big at the moment? It just seems that everything is really propelling us into, into a bigger space, into taking ownership for the way our collective is at the moment. And I wrote a lot of notes today because there's actually so much to go through. And I've done a little free gift, a free worksheet for you because there feels like much to glean from what's going on. And I don't want you to miss anything because it really is chance right now to go through some really deep personal changes and to kind of get the evolution that we've been really seeking as spiritual seekers. And I will keep reiterating that because this is what it's all about. But we've got a lot of Aquarius energy, and how Aquarius energy really helps us work is going from the smaller pool of the self to the bigger pool of the collective unconscious and conscious. So this Aquarian energy, it's really trying to lift us out of our own personal things because we've been very introspect, haven't we? We've been really focused on ourselves. It's been hard not to. The energy's been so like potent, and it's trying to now shift us into the more personal, into the wider field. This is because we're coming from the intro and the self to relationship with the wider world so that we can move forward into our new future. So that's why I've called this energy report Facing the Future, because it's about the fact that our future is just right in front of us, and we still have to face some things to propel ourselves into this new way of being, into this new archetype that we're going to become. I shared last week, I'm delivering a whole course on becoming the archetype because I think it's going to be so important that you know the archetype that you're specifically working with to advance yourself forward. And as you do that, as you craft the archetype, all the complexes in the personality try to come and help and support you actually enter that archetypal field and what that relates to in the bigger world. So it's going to awaken something in you, this Aquarius field, and it's governing insight, innovation. And instead of like taking really deep look inward, we're going to take a step back actually, and that will help us see things from outside of ourselves. So, for example, we've done a lot of deep work. So that involves a lot of emotional intensity, right? We've all been feeling like really deeply emotional. But now what we've got to do is get out of the emotion and come into the space where we're seeing the patterns, the behaviors, and the possibilities that had been made invisible before. So we're if you've had loads of emotion, you've done the work. If you haven't, you still need to go through that. Emotion is emotion. It is moving energy. And so those of us who've had loads of emotions, we really do now need to come out of that field and say, okay, this is now asking me to really look out at myself, at the patterns, the behaviors, and the things that I have been making small that can open up to be bigger. So when Aquarius is activated, the psyche really gains altitude. It goes from feeling everything to more understanding of what that means for you. This is why Aquarius is so clarifying, really, because it liberates us, it brings in some mental electricity. So, so there's movement, and it brings detachment with purpose. So, by that, I mean that we detach from things, behaviors, patterns, people, not to just be held in liminal space and be floating around saying, okay, I detached from my old job and now I'm just going to sit here. But it's going soon to be time for you to say, I detached because I've got a bigger purpose, and this bigger purpose looks like this. So you will loosen emotional bonds to people, places, and things out of that you developed out of habit, that you felt obligated to do, or that because you were in complete survival mode. So you will be detaching from those things and creating space for more, more authenticity, really, and self-respect. So you're really going to be feeling that I am worthy of this, and I can be the authentic me and move forward. I don't need to be playing a persona anymore or pretending to be someone I'm not. And this will give you even more clarity because it will make you more aligned to where you're going. This is Aquarius energy. I really think for the feminine field that it's really supporting a powerful reorientation. Remember, I said last week, orientation as a word. It is inviting us to step out of roles that were shaped by deep patriarchal patterns, not done to us, but what we allowed also, of things like, and I'm really guilty of this, caretaking, doing lots of emotional labor, silent endurance, just putting up with and shutting up with and getting on with it. But shaping all of that and realizing, yeah, I was caretaking. Yeah, I've been the emotional processor. Yes, I've been the one that's had to sacrifice everything so that everything moved or everything got held together. But now you can't do that anymore. There's no self sacrifice here in this Aquarius energy. And it's really asking you to, you know, lead and speak through choice, truth, and contribution. You really need to be honest about that. You really need to not put up and shut up. You really need to say, I can't do this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not holding all of this anymore. And that way you will reorientate yourself and your structures around you. They'll all change, and good, because they need to, so that love comes through your life in all manners of ways that isn't about sacrificing yourself. It's more about resonance, because when you're truly you, you will vibrate at frequency or the vibe or the essence, whatever you want to call it, that the exact wants to come in. And it will mean that you hold shared values with people around you, or, deep freedom to be who you really are and attract the relationships that you wanted. I've really been feeling over the last few weeks that there's a certain part of myself that can't speak or share truth and my passion and how I feel about things around certain people because they're very triggered by that, or because they feel threatened by it, or because I don't know. But I realize that if I can't be authentically myself, it doesn't mean that I don't need to also be self-reflective, but then I'm in the wrong environment. I'm around the wrong people and in the wrong place. And it's up to me to change that. It's up to me to resonate. And maybe the reason I'm in that field is because I have held back, mostly because I really haven't truly been fully 100% Colette, because I'm not quite sure people will be able to handle that. So, what is 100% you, and how do you really hold that back? This is really how we're going to create the future collective as well, because we've all been playing a role, we've all been pretending, we've all been playing a game. And that game has created the world that we live in today. So, we need to mash this up, we need to change it up. We need to ask a very important question like, how do I belong without betraying myself? It's not me to stay quiet. It's not me to not share shadow. It's not me to not point things out or be funny or to hold a certain amount of space in a room. You know, I have to be me and not always be having to tiptoe or like squash or smaller myself to fit in smaller spaces. And I believe we all do that. We're all doing it. So, where are you betraying yourself first? Ask yourself that question this week. It's going to be really important because when we start betraying ourselves, when we give ourselves permission to be like 100% authentic, I don't think we can ever be 100, but we aim for that, then we can work in participation in community, culture, and systems that reflect our individuality rather than our conformity. So, this is really true for me. I think the situation I've been in, it's allowed me to try to conform to patterns and behaviors that have been through wounding and through betrayal of myself. And I really want to change them and hope that they fall apart. So, this is often why Aquarius energy brings social shifts, ideological debates, and challenges to outdated structures. So be aware that you might be in conversation where someone is challenging you and your behavior, or you challenge others and then you notice how they react to that, because it really will serve that challenge to shift things where systems are no longer serving human dignity or truth. I think that's the best way to put it. So, yeah, this is going to be kind of tough energy, this Aquarius energy, because it's saying truth, truth, truth. Be truthful to yourself. Have some clarity. So Aquarius, I want to sum up this this is just an overview of Aquarius, and I'm going to put this in the worksheet that I'm giving you. But spiritually, Aquarius is it's like a bridge, and it bridges vision and manifestation. So this is the time now to start to think, this is what I see and this is what I want. And then I've got to build the bridge. Like, manifestation is the bridge I'm building. Manifestation is not, I'm just allowing it to fall in my lap. I think the spiritual world really did injustice to manifestation. It's not that it just comes to you. It's that you have an ability to build something to create what you want. That takes action. And so your insights that you're sharing, that you're beginning to live, that you will start to embody, are the bricks and mortars that build the bridge to manifest what it is you want. It carries this deep kind of compression in those bricks that will improve, reform, and reimagine how you can live more consciously and in a way that takes steps daily to pursue that very thing that you feel that you have to bring to the world or that you want to serve in the world. So, if you're very activated by Aquarius energy, and I do really, really suggest that if you've never had your birth chart done, to get it done, because you'll know what activates you more and you'll know where your birth charts are. I think there's quite a lot of good ones that you can pay like €30 for. I'll drop some links and you get a very detailed written report. But know what activates you. Some of us are so intuitive that we already can feel when we're activated in a planetary position. So I'm really feeling this now. I'm really feeling a heavy activation in Aquarius energy because it's making me a little restless. I feel like moving and traveling and building things. And I feel mentally charged. I'm feeling more mentally charged. Some clarity has come in, and I'm feeling a little impatient because I'm still working with the energies of the cycle. We've got Imbolc coming up on February. Spring is beginning. Yay! And so I'm trying to stay in step and in tune with the rhythm of my earth-based worship, as well as the inkling of what the planets are trying to do with me as well. So it's really pushing us in this movement to question, to speak, to innovate, and to step beyond what's comfortable and familiar for you. It is coming out of familiarity. If it feels uncomfortable, it's the right way to go. And it really is trying to bring a really honest liberation and a visionary clarity. When you don't integrate this energy, if you're just going to feel it and not do anything with it, it will make you feel quite rebellious, and it can also make you very emotionally distant from people. So really try to anchor this into the body and into action so that it doesn't become abstract, that it's more about wisdom. So, yeah, summing up, this Aquarius energy is trying to say to you that you are a conscious participant in the evolution of your future life and the collective story as the whole. So if you are the builder, what are you building? You're not sat on your sofa imagining it, you're building it. It takes action. And that's something that you help shape through being aware, emotionally like moving things, and then some deep action that comes with courageous authenticity. So that's the Aquarius energy that you'll find lots of astrologers talking about, that I really wanted to go into a bit more detail with, because these things can get really abstract. So there are some more things going on. There is this within this Aquarius field. This is why everything feels charged, is that we've got like a rare concentration of planets as well. Sun, Venus, Mars, Pluto, they're all in Aquarius, and it really is bringing that collective activation, the future visaging, and the truth telling. That's what's coming through. So for some reason on Facebook, it really doesn't let me see your comments as they come through, and I have tried to fix this, but I'm going to get someone to help me with this. So please do comment, and I will come in after and just like what you say, or maybe expand if you've got some questions or points. But yeah, this collective field we're in is bringing an awakening, thank God, and activation for future visions. So that Aquarius energy, let's not forget, it's working through our mind. We're like being strategic about things. It's about the collective. It's how we identify with society or our community, for example. And it's about new systems, new ways, and new ways of belonging. So this might be a really good time to make changes about, what you do in your time. Like, I'm still sat here in my gym clothes, like just go in the gym in the winter just to do something different. I much prefer land-based exercise, but it's deep and it's dark, and yeah, I don't want to stagnate. So thinking about behaviors that stagnate, and then what you can do that's different. Join some clubs, do something different. This will make you feel mentally alive. It will bring new opinions, it will bring new experience, it will allow this restlessness that's in this Aquarius energy to be met. And you might even get some situations where you can challenge some norms, because that's all up for Aquarius. Norms are being challenged, and your normal needs to be challenged. Stop being in your normal, do things differently. And then that also is within the Aquarius energy of not tolerating outdated structures. And I'm looking at me as an outdated structure. Like, what part of me is now freaking outdated and what needs to be changed? Make that really clear. What's outdated, what needs to be changed. So there's different aspects here. I didn't know whether to write these up or just take a bit longer in the live, but I really feel that this is kind of like sometimes when we get the start of a new energy, that we get this whole springboard. So I thought it'd be really good to springboard out of this Aquarius energy. And I wanted to just focus with Mars, Pluto in Aquarius, because this is quite big. It's very important, this dynamic, because it creates intensity and it's got uncompromising energy around truth, freedom, and power. They're biggies. Yeah. We know that power is the opposite of love. So we get this huge thing about power. We're seeing it in the world with wars. We're seeing all the demonstrations of all the countries. I shared all the countries that are going through devastated situations at the moment. And this is an upheaval. They are demonstrating in all these places, the men, the women, the soldiers, the people all over. It's all kicking off because this activation is a Mars as well activation. We're going to see and get it bigger. It's going to get bigger. This is action, anger, desire, and will. And with all those words, we've got this Pluto energy that is intensifying it because Pluto wants to expose and transform. So think about this, what's going on out there and what's going on in here. This internal conflict, this want of freedom, this rising anger, this desire, it's bringing an explosive mental energy in and revolutionary impulses and actions in you and outside of you. And I want to be in this energy. I want to be part of the revolution. I want a change. I want a deep alignment in my body with this Mars energy and this Pluto helping to be in alignment with truth and not in alignment with my wounds or my excuses, for example. So be aware that you might have some desires for sudden decisions that are maybe out of character for you, that you get radical clarity of things that are not right for you anymore, or the things that you actually need to do. And do not be surprised if you have confrontation. And confrontation is good. We come into confrontation, and some people often feel confrontation as conflict, but it's to bring resolution. It's to bring something new in. It has a lot of life force in confrontation. And those things that we may be confronting will be things like systems, roles, identities, and especially oppression. If you're feeling oppressed by, your workplace or your partner or your friendship groups or the environment you're living in, it's going to want to radically highlight that and change it. But I think thinking about that, what I'm going to add caution to here is that notice yourself, that you do not get caught in power struggles or that other people want to get in a power struggle with you. Back off. Just don't get into that ego fight. Just take a big deep breath and recognize that there is a lack of love there. It's more about power. Ideological clashes, that you just have different ideologies, just don't get too het up about it and take space from it and try to, even if you don't agree, just try to understand that your ideologies are just different. And yeah, be very careful of reactivity with your words or in social spaces, because this is really kind of warrior energy meeting transformation in the realm of consciousness. It's really, really big. So that's Aquarius and Mars with Pluto. And I want to move into Venus in Aquarius because this is active in our field. And I particularly like this, feeling very Venus in pink today. But we're having a deep shift in the feminine field. I mean, you should be able to really feel that. I can feel it. I just did a lovely video with my sister Shireen Ogberg, who has the Law of Positivism podcast. And she's an author and she's got some wonderful oracle cards. and we did a braiding of our hair to stand up for her sisters in Kurdistan who were going through, what could only be described as genocide, and the wars and the clashes, and all sisters that are going through turbulence at the moment. And I think the feminine psyche is really wanting to bring in the field of love and value and connection rather than war and hatred and power and genocide and death. That they're heavy, heavy words that and energies we're dealing with. So this feminine field of Venus in Aquarius is going to bring this beautiful field of the feminine, about autonomy, about self-respect, even about truth over harmony. Your positive vibe days, your bullshit, I'm sorry, words of I only want good energy and positivity erodes truth, because mostly truth doesn't arrive in an harmony. Truth arrives like what's the word they use in Buddhism, like the spear. So we've got to understand that truth is not about harmony, that love comes in, that autonomy comes in, and value comes in with this overriding dart of truth. And that will mean that we feel in this feminine field as women less able to people please anymore. And we're brilliant people pleasers, aren't we? That's going to get tough in this energy. Also, carrying the emotional labor, being the one in a dynamic that's the only one that's emotional, or taking all the emotions. I could be in rooms talking about what's happening in these countries and being deeply affected, and then people's got no emotion, no connection to it. And that's where I get kind of enlivened, where I'm like, do you feel like what that means for us as a collective when any country is out of balance if we're in a big interconnected web? So don't be carrying emotional labor and stay out of dynamics that diminish your vitality, that ask you to be smaller, less funny, less talkative, less, you know, reactive, proactive. All of those things do not diminish. Venus won't allow you in this energy. So, attraction for us in Venus as women in this field is mostly about resonance. Do we resonate with this environment, these people, this person? Can we share some values? Do we have core values that we share? And in this dynamic, whatever dynamic that is, are you free to be yourself? It's a big one. It's definitely coming up for me, for sure. This freedom to be myself. And that doesn't need to be put together and perfect. I had a situation the other day where I was doing something which wasn't perfect at all. And someone really picked me up about it. And I was in that situation, probably stressed. And that was kind of brought out in a way that wasn't supportive, but was rather done in a way to humiliate or to diminish. So that situation won't happen again for me. I'm like, yeah, if that person can't deal with highlighting things that are supportive and to the better good rather than doing it in a way that's diminishing, then I'll stay out of that field. They're the kind of things we're talking about with this. I'll be in a more feminine field. It was a very masculine field and it felt very oppressive, and my energy felt it straight away. So being in tune with that Venusy feminine place where we can be ourselves and we don't carry the emotional labor. But there's something bigger. As we move from Venus, we come to the Neptune, the waters of Neptune, and Neptune is leaving Pisces and entering Aries. Now, this is a once in a generation shift. Before, when Neptune was in Pisces, that's what we've known, and we'll never see that again in our lifetime now. And that cycle was really about contemplation, surrendering, turning inward, spiritual dissolution, prayer, longing, mysticism. It was that kind of like floaty field. But now we're coming into Aries, and I think this happened today. There is a huge shift. Contemplation was so, 2000 and late. It's now about initiation. Initiations are the way forward. I've been using this language in my work a lot recently because I want to move from contemplation inward direction in my field of work and make my field of work and my courses be more about initiation because this is the energy we need. So look for that. Look for something that's initiatory, something that's going to bring out a new part of you. That's the way forward in the way we're going to work in this energy. It's also taken us away from, and again, I've taken this out of my courses, less prayer, less of that like mystical kind of prayer, not ceremony or ritual is really important, but that kind of place where it's more about like contemplative prayer and more into action. Doesn't mean I'm not going to pray, but I am going to really work with action pieces in my courses and personally too. And I'm going to go from dreaming, Neptune, into doing, which is Neptune, sorry, in Aries rather than the Neptune in Pisces. So I'm going to ask these couple of questions in this huge shift. What do you believe strongly enough to act on? What is it in the moment at this point in your life that you believe strongly enough to act on? I have been truly feeling this feminine technologies field. It came to me in a dream some time ago. I've got a whole page on my website dedicated to this now, Feminine Mysteries and the Feminine Technologies. And that page is going to be added to this year because I really feel this huge influx of feminine future technology within women's bodies. And I really want to lead women into going back to themselves to decode and activate those very things that are going to move us through the rest of the year and the future, actually. So that's my goal. That's what I'm feeling strong enough to act on and invest in time writing courses and doing marketing for that because I really truly believe that that's something that's strong in my field that I need to act on. And then the second question here is, what visions are you willing to embody? What visions are you willing to embody? So again, moving from fantasy, I want this, this, and this, but rather I am doing this and I am drinking this in and I am taking this into my body. So that would be me creating the content. That would be me doing the activations, like doing the archetypal work that I've done to be able to deliver it so that other women can activate these things as well. So the doing, I'm doing rather than just envisaging. On these two questions, if you need me to write them and put them in the group, please ask, from these discussions, if there's anything that you need, putting in, please write under the video. I'm more than willing to support you additionally from these lives because they can be a lot. But I think the spiritual energy from this huge shift of Neptune really is trying to bring us, just feel these words as I say them, into courage. What does courage feel like in you? Take a big deep breath into your body and know where courage lives and what it feels like when you get called into courage. And then the next one is leadership. Where does leadership live in you? There's leadership in everyone. Doesn't mean it needs to be all of our personality or all of how we are. But in all of us lives a complex or a personality or the ability to lead. So I want you to just feel that in your body right now and take a breath into leadership. And then take your deep exhalation and feel this last word, identity. What you identify as. How can you identify yourself and be unapologetic about that identity? And this is the word that led me to the archetypal work because it's deeply ingrained in what I teach. But the archetype in your field that really wants to come out this year, the archetype in you that's not being birthed through you yet, but that could push through your future in you. My archetype card that I produced and I'm living in is the Feminine Mysteries Teacher. I'm really going to push through with that this year, and I'll show you how I've made that into a whole framework for me to go forward to in the archetypal class. So think about your identity, find some way of crafting your identity, writing it down, doing whatever you do. And then the final word is lived conviction or action. The action, what does action feel like? Notice the shift in energy from contemplation, where we've been, to action. And then take a big deep breath. So there's a lot here, but I think you'll feel the general gist is knowing yourself, being unapologetic, knowing where you're going, knowing your identity and your archetype that's going to take you forward. It is about putting the prayers that we've been in the past and the fantasizing and the mystery and the spirituality. It's about putting all that together now and putting it into direct action. That's what's being asked of us in this collective astrological field, psychological astrological field, where the psyche really is playing and dancing with these planets to become deeply aligned here on Earth. And the last thing I want to finish on, I know this has been a bit longer this week, but I think it's super vital shift in gears this week, is that this final lunation this weekend is going to be the last moon before the eclipse season opens. And it's a really closing and clarifying moon phase that's asking you, more importantly than ever this weekend, to say, what huge chapter am I closing? Not the little moon ones that we do saying, what am I letting go of? But if you could put your life in a big moon ball and say, this is complete, what are you naming that as? What is that completion? And what will you absolutely not be carrying into this next cycle? And I think if you can identify what's complete, then you'll know what you identify in for the next cycle. So this lunar energy that you'll work with this weekend is about integration, honesty, simplifying, getting all that unresolved stuff together and saying, that is behind me. I am no longer that. That is not what my life looks like anymore. And hopefully, as the cycle progresses for us, as we face the future, we'll look back at this point and say, wow, I don't look the same, feel the same as I did before. So it's wholly significant. It's huge. And that's why I wanted to just take some time. I will definitely be putting this up in a frame, and I'm going to give you all, email you all out this week, the framework of working with the Aquarius energy. So if you're not on my mailing list, make sure that you are at www.templedelarose.com, and that email will go out with a bit of a synopsis about the Aquarius energy as a reminder, and then the things that you should really work with, which would be great this weekend as we come into the final lunation. So I'm wishing you all really, really deep gusto energy as you try to reinvent, recreate yourself, your life. And as we all do that collectively, the world around us also changes. And we know that's much needed in our current climate. So I must love you and leave you, and thank you all very much for joining me. I appreciate the comments in the private group here at the Temple de la Rose on Facebook, our little sacred group. And this group is closed and safe for you to put personal things in. And I also thank all the viewers that I have on YouTube who watch this in hindsight, and really, yeah, any comments that you want to leave publicly under the YouTube video are very much appreciated. So sharing this if you feel it would resonate with anyone, inviting them to this group would also be a really beautiful way of us coming together and being hand holders as we move through these big, intense energies. So take care and bye for now.